Well, another top story tonight, New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez convicted on all charges in his bribery and corruption trial.
All right, in total, guilty on 16 counts, the most serious of which carries a potential prison sentence of 20 years. His sentencing scheduled for October 29th.
Fox 9's Teresa Priolo was at the courthouse when this verdict was handed down earlier today. She joins us live from Lower Manhattan with the very latest. Teresa.
Yeah, Natasha and Steve, a sweeping indictment of Senator Bob Menendez, a complete victory for the U.S. government. A jury finding New Jersey's senior senator, one of the most powerful Democrats in the country, demanded and accepted bribes in exchange for his influence. Here was the senator after the verdict was announced.
I have never violated my public oath. I have never been anything but a patriot of my country and for my country. I have never ever been a foreign agent, and the decision rendered by the jury today would put at risk every member of the United States Senate in terms of what they think a foreign agent would be.
To break this down, after 9 weeks of testimony and 13 hours of deliberations, at 12:30 today, the jury sent a note saying they had reached a verdict. They found Menendez guilty of 16 counts of corruption, crimes that saw gifts involving gold bars that were found in the senior senator's home, wads of cash stuffed in clothing in his closet, a Mercedes-Benz convertible that was a gift, and allegations that he acted as a foreign agent, using his position of power on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee to benefit his friends. He did so in some cases by withholding $100 million in military aid to Egypt until his friend and co-defendant, Will Hanna, received an exclusive contract to import halal beef to Egypt, a business Hanna has never run before. They also found that Menendez tried to obstruct justice by putting pressure on other elected officials to stop the criminal prosecutions of both Jose Uribe, who testified against Menendez, and co-defendant New Jersey developer Fred Davies. But the big fish here was Menendez. Here is the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York.
This case has always been about shocking levels of corruption. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes in the form of cash, gold bars, a Mercedes-Benz. This wasn't politics as usual, this was politics for profit. And now that a jury has convicted Bob Menendez, his years of selling his office to the highest bidder have finally come to an end.
The jury had been at it for about 13 hours. This was their third day, and this was the first morning that we didn't get a note from the jury. I also noticed that they ordered lunch a little bit earlier today than they had in days past. Back out here live, that note, the first note that came today, was the one that said that they had a verdict. Antoine Lewis was inside the courtroom when that verdict was handed down and when the verdict was read. Antoine, I left just before that verdict was read, but I did find that there was a bit of a nervous energy inside the court. Tell us what you experienced and tell us what you witnessed.
Well, the nervous energy was not just on the reporter pool, that was there. We're also talking about nervous energy from the prosecutors, from the defense table, even the court officers that were in. Now, there were two times when I wanted to make sure that I saw the senator, and that was when the first count came in and it was read. The second time, Teresa, acting as a foreign agent, because you have to remember, Bob Menendez was head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, so I was deeply curious to see what his reaction was going to be for that particular count. And he dropped his head a little bit, reacted in that regard. Some of the other defendants had family members there. We know that the senator's sister and a daughter were there. They did not cry, just kind of absorbing everything that was in. And then here's what happens. Teresa had to do the noon hit, so she had to get outside of the courtroom, because when these things happen, they shut the courtroom down, meaning that everyone that's inside the courtroom, press, officers, whomever you may be, defense attorneys, if you're not already in once it starts, you are not getting out. So you have to stay in that regard. And so that happened there. Then there's a process of leaving, but none of us could leave. They did allow the senator to then go. And as you heard at the podium, he seemed to be a little bit more fiery when addressing. I've never acted in this capacity as that. So I was particularly interested to see how he was going to do that. And then also noticeably absent today, his wife.
His wife, and many people remember, her name is all over the superseding indictment. She has not been in court since this trial began. That's in part because her trial was due to be at the end of the summer and has been delayed indefinitely while she seeks treatment for breast cancer. We can also tell you the senator is due to be sentenced on October the 29th at 3:30. That is the latest from your team here live in Lower Manhattan at the federal courthouse. Back to you guys in the studio.
Gave us so much color and commentary.
Yeah, no, for
Thank
sure.
you so
It's
much.
interesting to hear behind the